Hi, I'm Bry, and I study environmental science at Concordia University.
Hi, I'm Tess, and I study biochemistry at McGill. Welcome to the Morgan Arboretum. At 245 hectares, it's the largest green space on the island of Montreal. Donated by the Morgan family and owned by McGill University, it's home to many native species of plants and animals. With a mission of conservation, recreation, education, and research, the Arboretum is open year-round to be enjoyed by all.
With the current situation, we know a lot of you may not be able to come out and enjoy the forest, so it inspired us to create these videos to share our knowledge, keep you entertained, and keep you up to date with what's going on. Each week we're going to bring you a new topic, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's video.
Unfortunately, this year, all the sugaring off tours at the Morgan Arboretum were cancelled due to COVID-19. So today, we decided to give you a tour on how maple syrup is actually made. Let's start with the identification of our sugar maple tree. So this is obviously an adult, and you can tell that it's an adult because of its rough bark exterior. But specifically to the sugar maple, we can see that there are these white markings here. And this is easy to remember because it looks kind of like icing sugar. So white sugar goes with the identification of the sugar maple.
There are other species of maple that are both native to Canada and found here at the Arboretum. The red maple and the silver maple are two examples. You can see here that, although they are similar, their leaves do in fact differ. Technically, you could tap any deciduous hardwood and use the sap to make syrup, but none would have the exact same taste that we get from our sweet sugar maple tree.
You can also see here that this tree has already been tapped. You see all these little holes? This is where the tap goes in order to get the sap out of the sugar maple tree. So it takes a lot of work for trees to make sap, and like humans, trees have specialized cells that perform specialized functions, and one of these functions is transport. So trees have two types of transport cells. We have the xylem and the phloem. The xylem goes from roots to shoots, and it transports water and minerals, while the phloem flows all through the tree and transports sugar to be used by the tree to make energy. So the sugars that are being transported through the phloem are where sap extraction and maple syrup production come into play. So in the summertime, we all know that trees perform something called photosynthesis, which means that they take carbon dioxide and water to produce the oxygen that we breathe, sugar, as well as energy in the form of ATP. In the fall, cell production becomes slower and slower until finally the winter comes and cells become dormant. The sugars that are inside the cells are frozen in the tree to be used later in the springtime.
Come springtime, night and daytime temperatures differ. At night we go below freezing, and in the daytime temperatures climb above zero. This freeze-thaw action causes the sap to begin moving within the tree again. Normally trees will use this stored sugar to produce buds during this time. This movement creates a pressure gradient between the inside of the tree and the atmosphere around it. So when we make a hole in the sugar maple, movement from an area of high pressure to lower pressure causes the sap to move out of the tree. This is how we collect sap.
In both plants and animals, energy comes in the form of ATP. But what is ATP? ATP is a molecule called adenosine triphosphate and looks a little something like this. Adenosine, in orange, may sound a little bit familiar, and that's because it's actually found in DNA, along with thymine, guanine, and cytosine. The energy storage actually comes from these three phosphate groups. Phosphates are negatively charged molecules, so you can imagine having three of them right next to each other generates a lot of repulsion, and so you need high energy bonds to keep them very close together. When you finally break one of these bonds, you release all this energy, and that's how we use it. So, the sap that comes out of a tree is approximately 3 to 4% sugar and the rest is water. But the syrup that we like to put on our food is about 67% sugar. So how do we get all that water out while keeping the sugar in? So we do that through a process called evaporation, where we heat up the sap and we let all the water come out. And so we heat it to approximately 104 degrees Celsius. But we know that water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, so why do we need to increase the temperature by 4 degrees? And that's because when water has something else in it, it usually increases the boiling temperature. That's why we need to go to 104. So when you're doing the boiling, you need to know when to stop. So what you can do is you can take a big scoop, and when you pour it out, it'll be a golden brown color with ribbons along the edge. So the final step of the process is actually filtering, because you want to make sure that there's no bark or bugs in your syrup. So you would pour it through here, and then you would can it.
So now you know how maple syrup's made. And think about that next time you have breakfast.
Welcome to This Week at the Arbo, a segment where we'll be sharing pictures and footage sent in by our valued members every week. It's a great way for you to be a part of Friends of the Forest and continue to be involved with life at the Arboretum. This week's photos of fantastic fungi and beautiful buds were sent in by Merdula. Thanks so much!
If you're interested in sharing your Arbo photos or videos, we'd love to see them. Send your media to arbovideos@gmail.com to be featured in upcoming episodes. And be sure to check out our Instagram at friendsintheforest_Arbo. It's time for this week's Fun Forest Fact!
Do you know what a group of frogs is called?
Be sure to tune in next week for the answer to this question, as well as an exclusive segment on amphibians.